Hey y'all, welcome to the first podcast episode. I don't really know what I want this to be called. I feel like God is going to give that to me as time goes on. But I will say this. Um, as I've been making like the vlogs and even beforehand, I feel like God had told me that I want you to start a podcast. Now here's the gag. Here's the gag. So many podcasts have been started in the media. Like all you see is podcasts these days. Like you got you got you got baby mamas and baby daddies linking up to make a podcast with their new mate. Like it's crazy. Like you got best friends coming up with podcasts. You got all type of stuff. Like just it's been very interesting to see just the creativity when it comes to these podcasts. So, but it feels like for me, God had told me to create something like this a while ago, and I just never did it. I never did it. But being that I want to start taking YouTube back more seriously, I was like, you know what? I've been very consistent with the vlogs the last few days. Let's just go ahead and drop. Let's go ahead and drop. And when God first gave me this idea, it was to have different guests on. Like that's what I want, is to bring my friends on so they can talk about different areas of their lives that they are faced, like just different things they're facing, what they're doing and how they're getting through it. And that's what I want this to be about. I want this to be a safe space. And if you go back in the vault, you will see kind of a podcast style between my dad and I. And that was my first time ever trying to do some type of sit down conversation. I just didn't keep it up. But now that I want to really, like, since podcasts are popping, I'm like, let me get out there and see what I can and, relate and, I don't know, who I can relate to and who I can bless, or who my guests can bless. So today, again, I really wanted to be transparent. I wanted to be vulnerable. I want us to chill. This first one is not going to be entirely too long, but I just want to talk about the topic of, and this is off the dome. Like this is totally off the dome. This isn't pre-planned. This isn't something that I sat down and was like, hey, I'm going to talk about A, B, C, and D. It will be like that in the future, but this is really off the dome. But today, I feel like God gave me the message of being you is the only thing that matters. Being you is the only thing that matters. And so some of you, like, you don't really know me, but some of you do know me just from previous videos. But I am 23 years old. I am a school teacher. And this is my first year teaching, and I teach second grade. And I've always wanted to be a teacher since I was a little girl. Like I would go to school and then I'd come home and then I would play teacher all over again, like with my imaginary class. Like I would literally play teacher. And like that's the way that I would like get through like studying a test or preparing for a quiz. Like I would have my little whiteboard and I'd come home and then I'd play. Like that was literally how I got through like studying, and because I just wasn't a good test taker, right? But I love to learn, and I still do love to learn. But I was like, in order for me to pass this test, this quiz, I'm gonna have to act like I'm actually teaching a class, right? Teaching a class. And so that's what I would do. So I would go home and I would imitate my teachers. I would go home and imitate my teachers in our back guest room. And I would do it for hours. And so I knew growing up, like, that is what I wanted to be. Like, that's who I wanted to be. And so I ended up going to school for education. And I graduated in December of 2022. So about, almost a year ago now. And literally coming out of school, I got got a job, and kind of instantly. It took maybe 3 or 4 months, but even during those 3 months, I was substituting in the district that I work in. I actually went back home to teach in the district that I grew up in. And so for me, it was just a whirlwind of things. And I feel like I'm still not to the point where I have fully accepted who I am and what I'm doing. And I'm at the point where I'm grateful, but I don't feel like I'm all the way content or accepting of where God has me. And I think that like that's what a lot of us struggle with, is being content in who we are and where God has us. And I feel like the more that we become accepting and the more that we become content is when we can see the elevation that God wants to take us to. I was just telling my mom last night that like we are in our 20s. I'm talking about my friend group. I don't know what age you are when you're watching this, but like my age group, like we're in our 20s. My friends, my people, like we're in our 20s. We're so young, and I think we put a lot of expectations and stipulations on ourselves to be the best, and I don't think that is always what we want. I think it's what society wants out of us, and so we get uncomfortable of just being ourselves. Like that makes us uncomfortable. Like I feel like some of us are so uncomfortable with being who we are, when I feel like really like all God wants, all the people, everybody that loves you, they just want you to be you. That's it. They just want you to be you. And I think that, you know, in my generation, we're so caught up in what the next person is doing, or how come I can't be where that person is, or I'm living out a dream, but I have a dream that is so much bigger, so let me rush what's going on presently in my life, and then we forget about where God actually has us. And so I think that those are just some of the feelings that I feel like I've been going through. But I think that when you take a step back and you realize that I'm okay with being me, is when you can be elevated. And I also was telling my mom, like, you know, you don't stop dreaming. Yes, you're living in a dream, but then when you're living in that dream, you don't wake up from that. Like, you don't wake up from dreaming. Like, you always continue to dream. And if you don't, then you don't understand the power of elevation. If you stop dreaming, and if you are so content where you are and you don't see nothing else bigger for you, then you don't understand the power of elevation that God wants for you, you know. And so I feel like that's important, that we have to understand that you don't stop dreaming. Just because you're living in your dream, because you've always dreamt of, doesn't mean that you stop dreaming. And so I think that once you start to get that realization about things, I feel like that's when, you know, you could really be comfortable with being you. You can be comfortable with being who you are, and you know, what God is wanting you to be, or who He's making you to be. And so I don't know, I'm just in a season of gratitude and gratefulness. And I mean, like, going into the fall season, of course you start to feel that, because, you know, Thanksgiving is coming up. But like, I guess to end this short episode today is like, what are you genuinely grateful for? Like, what is something that you can say, I'm content and I'm okay with being me? Like, what is something that you can genuinely say, like, okay, like, I'm okay with being who I am. I'm comfortable with being who I am. And that you are not having this urge or this desire to step outside of self and be so hard on self. Like, what is something that, you know, you are just content with? What is something you are grateful for? What is something that you want to show gratitude for? So I want to leave y'all with that. Again, I wanted this to be vulnerable and transparent. We're going to get even deeper. Again, I want to bring guests on. I really just want to talk. Like, I am a talker. Like, I love to just get in people's business. I do. My friends know that. I'm nosy, child. Nosy. So I love to get up in your business. And I sometimes, like, it depends on who you are, okay? Because some people don't always, have your best interest at heart. So you got to be careful who you even share with. So I like to get up in your business, but I'm not always that person that likes to give out the business. Some of you can agree with me in the comments on that. But there are certain people that they get me to open up, and we have really good conversations, and that's what I want to have with you all. So with that being said, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what else you want to see regarding topics. What do you want to talk about? We want to talk about so much to talk about. It's endless. Okay. All right. I love y'all. Peace.